tech enthusiasts. Welcome to another exciting episode of the FoodTech Innovators Podcast, where we explore the transformative impact of technology and success stories in the world of food and beverage manufacturing. This week, we welcome Harvey Martens, the CMO of NutraEx Food, to talk about developing unique flavors and how unique sweetener alternatives really make a difference. And just before we kind of get into it with you, Harvey, I just wanted to mention that I find this particular topic really quite exciting for a couple of different reasons. One is that I've been on a low-carb diet forever, so the idea of having a sort of the alternative to sugar that might make some foods that previously one has to avoid available is really an exciting idea. And secondly, I'm interested in the aspects that there could be around gut health, because I have people in my family who have Crohn's. So having healthy gut is something that's really top of mind for us. So why don't you start with a little bit of an introduction about kind of who you are and where you come from before we jump into a few more detailed questions about the specific product.
Absolutely. So my name is Harvey Martens. I'm the co-founder of NutraEx Food. We're a 14-year-old company started in British Columbia, and we just decided to build a company to help make it easy for more people, more consumers could eat healthy and to have great taste at the same time. Our company started in Burnaby, British Columbia back in 2010. We focus entirely on natural sweeteners. We take the approach that sweeteners, if you want to remove sugar or if you want to remove some of the artificial sweeteners and replace them with something healthy, make life healthy. Number one, you don't want to give up any taste. You want to have the great taste. But also, there's some other issues that we see people encountering, and we help build our company to supply products that would help overcome some of those other difficulties that occur when you take sugar out of a product.
Okay, excellent. And you yourself, have you seen any personal benefits from the use of these sweeteners? Are you a consumer yourself?
I definitely am. I want to say that my co-founder, Lily Zoe, is a food scientist and an expert in flavors, has many decades of experience dealing with making foods taste great. And when she introduced me to these diets, I lost 40 pounds in the very first few months. So yes, I am definitely a consumer and I enjoy eating healthy. And today, if I was to look at something that's normally heavily coated, I'll take a look at it and I'll say, my goodness, this must have a lot of sugar. I don't think I can eat that.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, I've lost about the same amount of weight myself on the low-carb diet, but I've just had to do it through avoiding anything good. So
Too bad.
Really nice to have a different option there, yeah. So are there any misconceptions like people have around sweeteners in general that you think could be clarified?
Yeah, of course. There's some misconceptions that are pretty common. There's a lot of people who take something that's labeled as zero sugar or no sugar or low sugar, and they probably don't understand that the sugar content has just been reduced a little bit. Some of the sweetener ingredients that are very common aren't called sugar. For example, dextrose is one of those products, but it's actually sugar. However, the consumers tend to take the face value of the advertising and think it's without sugar. However, if you have more than one gummy, for example, with the dextrose in it, now you're eating sugar, and many people have more than one. So it's a misconception that everything that looks sugar-free actually is sugar-free or even low in sugar.
And what are some of the sort of weird things that people might not know about formula design, specifically in food and beverages?
Yeah, when a formulator is putting together a product that would contain a lot of sugar and they want to remove that sugar, some of the most difficult situations are that when you replace it with another product, another sweetener, you often encounter the case where it doesn't work right, because sugar does so many more things than supply an actual sweetening characteristic. It is the gold standard. Sugar is the gold standard for a sweetener, and it's a wonderful product. It'll be with us for a long time. But if you replace sugar, now you're also replacing some preservative. You're replacing, if the product that you're replacing it with is higher concentration, you may have to replace some of the yield. Let's imagine you're doing a bakery product. Well, the replacement doesn't brown as well. So there are a number of issues. It's not just a simple matter of taking one product out and putting one in. A good example is that people who like monk fruit. And monk fruit is one of those sweeteners that's really great. It's natural. It's on many of our products. But people are saying, I want pure monk fruit. I don't want it mixed with anything else. And pure monk fruit would be way too sweet, way too powerful, and just not workable for a formulation.
And from the perspective of the manufacturer of these products, because most of our client base are manufacturers in our audience.
Right.
So why would they want to consider using something other than sugar in the first place?
Well, there's definitely a demand in the marketplace. Consumers are voting with their pocketbooks, and they're moving away from products that are heavily sugar. They're looking for alternatives. There was a rush to diet products decades ago, but even those moves that went to diet products, the artificial sweeteners, more and more of the consumers are saying, oh, I don't like that. Some of the artificial sweeteners have side effects, and people just don't like them. And they're looking for natural products, natural sweeteners, items that they would find in nature, and they would like to see that as the sweetener alternative. That's the main area where we find our customers and our formulators are. And over the last decade, we've observed that some products that are on the market become more and more popular. I'll give an example. Some years ago, stevia is an extract, a plant extract, and it was seen to be the greatest solution. And a lot of people switched over to stevia and put that into their products, only to discover that there was some off taste that came with it. And the early products tasted really bitter. So we're finding that there are a lot of consumers who said, "Oh, I tasted that. If it's got stevia, I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it." So the formulator has to either overcome that or find another alternative, and that's clearly where our company comes in, where we help them formulate and make great tasting products that don't have off taste.
And what kind of things have you sort of learned along your journey here that you found surprising?
We originally developed a technology that helps to make these natural sweeteners, to make them taste and look like and operate like sugar. And we found that the technology was really helpful to develop that. And then when we worked with food companies or beverage companies, I'm thinking of one in particular, we had worked with them. They were in the dairy business, and we said, let's supply them with a great sweetener so that they don't have to add so much sugar to the dairy product. And so we sent them a few samples, and they took them back to their lab and tested them. And we didn't hear anything for a while. And when we checked back in with them, they said, "Oh, we tried that; it didn't work." And I'll have to say that years went by, and some years later, we were able to connect with the people again. And they said, well, let's give it another try. Maybe things have improved. So we again went through the process and developed some great solutions for them, brought them over to them. This time we actually brought samples, applied samples, and they tasted them. They tried them out in their sensory area, and they're very delighted. They said, well, this is really great. Send us a sample of that one. That's the best one. And so when we looked in our files, we said, well, that's the one we sent you 2 years ago. It turned out that they hadn't completely followed or used the usage and the way of implementing that particular sweetener. But what I'm saying is that what we've learned is it's not just a matter of substituting the product. You also have to use it right. And many times, strange things happen with a different sweetener. For example, a cookie doesn't turn brown because of the sweetener, where sugar browns it just beautifully. That's just one example.
And how does your products compare to, for example, like maltitol or aspartame?
So, okay, I'll take aspartame first. That's an artificial sweetener, aspartame. We know that there are side effects. We can't say that ours doesn't have side effects, but with none have really been found in the same way that the artificial sweeteners have. And aspartame it's got some characteristics that most of our products don't have. That is, it's sensitive to light, and so therefore it will deteriorate more quickly. So people who want a long shelf life for their products, we often have better solutions for that. And maltitol is another product that's very popular. People would tend to use maltitol because it's a low-cost ingredient, probably lower cost than sugar. We've observed, though, that the glycemic index for maltitol is actually quite high, And the reason for getting away from sugar is to stop the digestion in the body and stop the sugar spike. Maltitol, unfortunately, doesn't really help with that. Even though you get a sugar-free claim, it's really doesn't achieve the purpose that people were looking for.
I also noticed, I've had chocolates with sweetened with maltitol, and also ice creams. And sometimes if you eat a significant amount, the side effects can be quite unpleasant. You need to spend a long time in the washroom.
A laxative, yes, we know that there are those side effects. Our lab is constantly looking at regulations and looking at suggested usages, and we would always recommend a usage or a formulation that doesn't come close to the levels that would cause side effects.
And are these sweeteners suitable for people who suffer from diabetes, for example?
Absolutely. In fact, the way our company got started, Lily, my co-founder, had a family member who was very significant in her family, helped to raise her daughter, and her auntie contracted diabetes and died at a much younger age than we would like. When Lily observed this, she was already working in the food business, but in the flavor side, she said, well, what's the reason for this? And discovered the direct relationship between diabetes and large consumption of sugar. She said, oh, let's find a replacement. Let's not have that. What happened to my auntie, it happened to so many people. And it was diabetes, or the attempt to reduce or remove the bad effects of diabetes that gave rise to the company getting started right in the first place. We've even had employees here who have told us that they had contracted or they had genetic diabetes, and they felt that they weren't going to have any fun. They weren't going to be able to enjoy life because of the fact that they were diabetic, and found that products that we offer opened up a whole new range for them. And they're able to enjoy so many wonderful, indulgent tastes and products. Even though they didn't have sugar, they were still great tasting, wonderful products.
What's an example of a product that you think has been successful in terms of adopting your sweetening technology?
Sure. One of the areas that's very interesting, a young entrepreneur approached us and said that there was a market. She felt that there was a market for gummies that didn't have sugar in them. The gummies up until that time were very popular with children, very sweet, it was indulgent, but they were all just laced with sugar. And she said, I would really like to kick the sugar and end up with a gummy that doesn't have any sugar in it. And I also don't want any sugar alcohols. And this was an idea. That's all it was an idea at the time they approached us. And they said, we can't find anybody who makes gummies that could do this. So we assisted them in developing their formulas, developing a product that was sugar-free and also sugar alcohol-free. And it really gave rise to an industry, because today sugar-free gummies are very common everywhere. And we had to start with that. Of course, marketing and all the other good things that entrepreneurs do had a significant impact as well. So we don't claim to make the industry, we just helped. And that's what we like to do. We like to help our customers become very, very good with sugar-free and sugar reduction.
Okay. And if you had a pack of gummies, for example, that would normally on the label have like 32 grams of carbs, for example, and you substituted your sweetener for it, what would the label look like?
Well, there'd be, we have a number of ways of dealing with gummies, as the example goes. Other products too, whether it's bakery or beverage. But in the area of confections, it's a high concentration, a large amount of sweetener is in the product. And we would make sugar-free, 0 calorie, 0 sugar gummies. That would be a product that we would deliver. Some people say, oh, I still want some energy. I want the gummies to have an additional energy kick, but I just don't want that much sugar. Can we put something else in that would improve that and maybe even give me a different health claim? And so we could do that. We could provide a product with some calories, maybe put in some fiber. A lot of people need fiber in their diet and they're not getting enough. This would be a way to do that. Another way would be to put some protein in, prebiotics, etc. Those would go into the formula, and those would be extra claims that they could put on their product. In addition to all that, I can say that we have experimented with and have offered to some of our accounts the ability to incorporate some of the trace minerals or trace items, vitamins, minerals, and so on within our formula that makes it easy for the user to get their required dose and do that by having tasting and eating a really enjoyable candy or breakfast cereal, drink a beverage, whatever it might be.
And you get the sugar down to zero. That's incredible. Or the carbohydrates and calories too, even better.
Calories too, yeah. No, I can't do that with chocolate cake. I'm sorry. I can reduce the calories in chocolate cake, but I can't eliminate them. But there are gummies and beverages and so on where you can have zero calories and zero sugar. Yes. And still tastes great.
I took a peek at your website before our conversation. One of the things that was bouncing around in my head was a study that I read a while ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where a bunch of cancer researchers were looking at the effects of glucose on cancer tumors. And they found that it's well known that cancer thrives on glucose, where they introduced an alternative, similar kind of molecule to glucose that was absorbed by the body and kind of treated like glucose, but it actually wasn't glucose. And it had a dramatic effect in reducing the size of the tumors to the point where I think some of the subjects had their tumors completely disappear. Have you ever looked at that side of the equation? Does it help with cancers, for example?
We're not yet in some of the areas that would be covered in the medical world. So I will say, though, that one of the closest areas to that is a recent new product we brought out. And we've observed that sometimes there are some items where the sugar that you do eat, even if you still have some sugar, you can inhibit the digestion of that sugar when it turns in, when the sugar is broken up in the gut and it separates the glucose from the fructose. The glucose then goes into the bloodstream. That process, it's done by an enzyme in the small intestine. And we found that and we've just introduced a new product. We call it bifunctional sugar or BiSugar, and it contains this inhibitor. So it's less sugar, but it also inhibits the remaining sugar in your body and reduces the actual consumption and the glycemic effect down by 80%.
That's pretty impressive. Amazing. But what kind of challenges have you faced so far, kind of bringing this to market? You've been around for quite a while, so has it been a pretty smooth road, or have you had obstacles that you faced?
We're very fortunate. As a company, we started small, but we didn't see ourselves as small. We're focusing on supplying large food and beverage manufacturers, global brands, and our focus is currently only Canada and the United States. Many of our customers have wider markets than that, so we do have to touch on Europe and Asia occasionally, but primarily what we do is deliver products to the United States, to North America. And we've been very fortunate that our customers have been successful and they have ordered lots of product from us. Millions of pounds of sugar have been replaced as a result of the sweeteners that we've supplied. At one point I did a check and we found that 20 million pounds of sugar had been replaced through our customers' use of our products. And that number keeps growing. We're targeting right now to get that up to 100 million pounds of sugar to be replaced by the sweeteners that we offer. And we're well on the way to doing that.
Wow, that's very impressive. 100 million pounds. That's really, really great. And is that kind of your mission? What's the mission of your company? What do you try to accomplish in a larger societal sort of perspective?
Sure. Well, so our mission is eat healthy and don't give up the good taste. And that's our mission. And in order to accomplish that, we develop sweetener solutions. We have a sweetening system that helps people take the sugar out of their product, take the artificial sweeteners out of their product, and maintain their best taste or maybe even improve the best taste of the product. And that would be any kind of food or beverage, whether it be bakery, beverage, confections, even supplements. And when we worked on doing that, we found that it wasn't easy or straightforward. Some of the misconceptions are that you just take the sugar out and you drop this other sweetener in and we're good to go. And there aren't any really good substitutes that do that. What we did, though, was we developed some solutions. And in order to do that, we had to build some technology. We actually invented some technology for which we're happy to say that we have patent. And that technology, we call it embedding technology. What it allows is to take high potency sweeteners and other trace items and embed them into a carrier or wall material, the result of which is dial in the amount that you want it to be, how sweet you want it to be, and then lock that in so that it stays and can be used as a standardized product in the factory, and it can last for a shelf life of multiple years. And that technology is very instrumental in us being successful in the crowded food and beverage space as an ingredient supplier.
So you alluded a couple of times to the point that you sort of implied that you actually work with companies actively to develop these formulations. So it's a kind of a hands-on approach that you take with your clients. Like if I'm a food manufacturer, I want to, explore your product. You don't just mail me or ship me a bunch of it. You actually work with me to figure out how to incorporate it.
Yes, and thank you for asking. Yeah, we absolutely do. In our Burnaby location, we have a research and development lab where we are constantly making prototypes of products that have sugar reduction. And we work with our customers who are facing an issue with, they want to take sugar out of their product or they want to reduce it. Some of the Canadian manufacturers these days are looking to get the sugar content just down below the 15 grams per serving size so that they can avoid that new label that Health Canada wants to put on those high sugar products. And in order to help them with that, we have a lab, we have a service that we offer to our customers where we help them with the formula and help them eliminate some of the time that they would spend trying to get the formula right by offering them what we call them plug-and-play products. And these plug-and-play products have already been designed to meet a particular sweetness level and can substitute for a syrup, replace sugar, replace some of the other products. Even some of the artificial sweeteners, we're able to bring those in. And what we're observing these days, one of the biggest items is that there are people who also, despite all these benefits that they're looking for, they don't want to spend any more money. They say customers don't want to spend any more money. And so they would like to see the cost go down. And if only we could help them save some money. And more recently, I have to say, we are on a cost-cutting or cost-saving campaign to some of our largest companies, offering them ways that they can reduce their cost of sugar by utilizing our technology.
That's an area where we're sort of in alignment. So we help our customers with our software system anticipate what their theoretical costs are. And then we track the actual costs and allow them to do the variance. And one of the things that really struck me when I got into the food industry myself was that the margins are so thin. The 3% is the average margin that most companies are working on.
Yeah.
And so in some segments of the market, it's even lower than that. So it's really great if you can help them do that. And that surprises me. I didn't realize you guys were on track for that. So good on you. Well, one of the things that we're working on, this is super secret, so you have to promise not to tell anybody, is that we're working on a lot of additional sustainability kind of functionality to help people determine what is the environmental impact of their products. Does that play into your business as well at all, or are you sort of outside of that?
We're really aligned on the sustainability area. There are people who think that by changing the sweetener, you're going to have to do bad things to the environment. But no, it turns out that the technology that we developed, where we're building our sweeteners and combining different items, is an environmental friendly process. It doesn't have, waste products. It doesn't utilize a great deal of energy. It's a low energy process. The embedding technology is almost completely dry, where we've been able to find a technique that would take some products that were both dry products with a little bit of magic and a little bit of tweak and a little bit of technology that we developed. We're able to take those, let's say a high intensity sweetener with a wall material. A wall material might be sucrose, it might be erythritol, it might be allulose, some of the common ones. And we'll take those and we'll embed them so that you can dial in a product that is exactly the same sweetness as sugar, or maybe one that's got 60 bricks, and you want to get a slightly higher concentration. Whatever it is you need, this technology allows you to dial in the amount that you need, and it will uniformly disperse the high potency sweetener so that you won't have parts that are cold and other parts that are extra hot. And by having that in, dial it in, lock it in, and then once that's locked in, then you can manufacture those products at scale. And we have factories that produce them in the hundreds of tons a year. And then you can put that product on the market, you can put that into storage, and even by having it go overseas, go through rough transportation or storage for a long time or very violent process in manufacturing, those products will hang together and they will still produce the standardized taste profile that people are looking for. We have a significant offer that differentiates us from other people who are just supplying a sweetener here or a sweetener ingredient there.
Sounds like kind of that level of support and precision might have an advantage over sugar, actually.
Indeed it does. And sugar is a great product. We don't say sugar is all bad. It's just when you have too much. And unfortunately, North America has developed an appetite for items that exceed what the body can handle for sugar. And so it's really important that people keep healthy, use some of the products in moderation, but stay limited. And that's what we help people do with the technology and the techniques that we've developed. And it's all we do. We just do sweeteners and sugar reduction. That's our whole business.
And if you took out your crystal ball and dust it off and peer into the future for us, like how do you see sugar versus your technology sweetener kind of coming to play in say the next decade or 3 or 4? We've
noticed that the sweetener, the ingredient business, sweetener ingredients, has been innovative. There's constantly people trying to come up with something new. They're developing new products all the time. We think this is going to continue. We've noticed some of the well-known, they've been known but not exploited commercially products. And those we're seeing, there continue to be interest. Allulose is an example. Couldn't we make this and get to use it in some of the products, eliminate some of the off tastes and some of the side effects of the other products? We're seeing tagatose and some of the other items that are coming on board. But where we probably will see the most changes is in sustainability, where the products that are available from natural sources, that is, you grow the plant and you extract the product from there, has a tendency to be somewhat limiting, and you get seasons that are not great. Some products only bear fruit 2 or 3 times a year, and so we're going to be looking for solutions to that, get a year-round process. And so we're predicting that that's going to continue, and we will have more and better sweetener products. Consumers will finally be satisfied with the existing things, but no, they will not stop asking for innovation. And so we will be constantly plagued with what will the consumer do now and how do we need to deal with that? That's going to continue for the next probably many years, maybe even decades. In our company, we're constantly developing new products. And while we do work for customers for existing projects, we also plan for the future. And we didn't tell everybody, but we are working on some new items which will lower the costs of the best products and supply them year-round. That's something that we're working on, and it's a few years from now before it's going to come out, but it's where we see the future and the need for sweeteners and innovators in formulations.
Well, I got to tell you that this whole conversation's sort of making my sweet tooth rise to the surface. If I wanted to try a product with your sweetener in it, what would you recommend?
Well, the nicest product is this one right here. The place to go is NutraEx.com, NutraEx.com. That's our industrial-facing website, NutraEx.com. That's our company name. If you're in Canada and you're interested in a consumer product, then the place to go is SugarLike, SugarLike, sugarlike.ca, and there you'll find the place where you can buy the retail product that I showed earlier.
Okay, fantastic, and we'll put the links down below so
Perfect.
you can easily find it.
And if you're a formulator and you want to do some sugar reduction, you can get a hold of our company, send us an email, and let us know what project you're interested in. And we'll see if we have one that fits your need, or maybe we'll work with something that specializes it. We won't take your formula. We'll just help you make your formula great and use our sweeteners to make that happen.
And it's been great talking to you.
My pleasure indeed. And I hope everybody eats healthy, enjoys sweet products, indulgent food, and just stay healthy.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the FoodTech Innovators Podcast. We hope that you found today's discussion informative and inspiring. If you have any specific topics or questions you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out through social media or email info@icicletechnologies.com. Thanks again, and see you at the next episode of the FoodTech Innovators Podcast.